Screwing up.
Okay, hi, I'm Erin Frame. I'm a realtor with Long Realty here in the Catalina Foothills. I'm here with another community interview. Super excited with Frost Gelato, and I have been trying. Actually, was sending you guys lots of messages, but you probably don't see that stuff. So luckily, Steve over here, Ochoa, actually got this interview set up. So I'm excited. So I luckily have the founders, yes,
Co-founders.
Only one's willing to be on camera right now, but the other one I'm going to make him do something. And of course, I have Nazario. Is that right, Nazario? And he's actually the one who makes the gelato, right? The chef.
Not really, but
Kinda, sorta, comes up with recipes.
I train the chef how to make.
Okay, there you go. So you're kind of the oversee all that. So, and of course I have Jeff Kaiserman here, and hiding over here I have Stephen Ochoa and his dad Steve. So perfect. So this is amazing. So thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks. So I guess my first question is, what is gelato?
So gelato, great question. Gelato is the Italian version of ice cream. It's different from American ice cream because we don't incorporate any raw eggs and less than 1% cream in our product. So it's half the calories and 80% less fat than American ice cream. It's pretty unbelievable because gelato has 3 to 8% butterfat, where ice cream is 12 to 25% butterfat.
Wow, okay.
And it's kind of a misconception because butterfat dilutes and blocks the flavor. It acts as a dam. So gelato is really rich and intense in flavor. And a lot of people think that gelato being so rich in flavor, it's got to be bad for you, but it's quite the opposite. We have a really great piece of marketing that we've actually had for about almost inception, about 14, 15 years. And it's kind of like the jelly bean chart. It compares ice cream to gelato, and it shows that it's called guilt-free Frost Gelato, and you can have essentially twice as much gelato compared to ice cream for a single serve.
Oh, well, that's really a good thing to know.
Yeah.
I had no idea. No, it's dairy though.
Yeah, so we use whole milk, no raw eggs and less than 1% cream.
Okay.
So it's very rich in cream tasting, but it doesn't have the cream. So it's essentially all the raw ingredients are imported from Italy, or the majority of them are. And then from there we create our base, which Nazario can explain kind of the secrets behind that to a certain extent of what makes us so unique and different. And then from there we make everything fresh on site daily, and we're incorporating fresh cocoa, fresh pistachio paste from Sicily, and then add that to our base, which is mostly a whole milk base. You get this pretty unbelievable product that is also healthier than the alternative, so it's a win-win.
Unless you're lactose intolerant.
However, we have that would be a little bit of a shame, but we have some pretty amazing sorbets. So they're dairy-free, fat-free. They're made with water, fresh fruit, and sugar. So we have a total of 39 flavors, and 2/3 of them are gelato, and then 1/3, our last case, is dedicated strictly to sorbets. So we have 12 different sorbets that we offer daily, and they range from mango, strawberry, to some pretty unique flavors such as a blackberry cabernet that we do in the wintertime, a strawberry champagne, or a Bellini, which is peach and champagne, which you would find obviously in Italy. That's very popular, but for dinner appetizer drink, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of different.
It's kind of like a palate cleanser or something.
It really is, and so a lot of the flavors, they go well with each other, and it's all about the combination. But we literally have something for everyone. We always have had one yogurt flavor, that's made with whole milk as well, and then we have 2 no sugar added flavors that we've always had. One's a milk base made with fat-free milk, and then the other one is a water base, so it's a sorbet.
Oh, great. Okay, because my husband's diabetic, so that's what I was telling him.
It's perfect.
That's always my question. So it sounds like you have everyone covered.
Everyone covered.
Perfect. So now, what are you going to tell me about? You're going to tell me about.
I came here 14 years ago, assuming that I helped the 2 guys to open the first shop at Casas. And then after that, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then they pushed me to stay. Because the plan was to open several other locations here in Tucson. So from 1 week, now it's 14 years.
Wow, that's amazing. So how many locations
It's
do you
almost
have?
16. He's lost track.
He's lost track. So in Tucson?
Yeah, so our original store was at Oracle and Ina.
Okay.
We opened in May of 05. And then from there we expanded. We were very fortunate that we had a great response right out of the gate, lines out the door, and then that continued. As Nazario said, he was here for just originally 3 months. It was a unique story because he was going to then go back to Italy, and we said, we're we're hopeful that we can expand in the future. Would you like to come back? And he said, yeah. So we made him our head production chef, overseeing all of our chefs that we train in-house. Our goal at that time was to expand. We didn't know where that was going to take us, and so Nazario came back 4 months later, and he's been with us ever since. And we expanded to the east side. Our second location was at Sabino Canyon in Tanque Verde.
Okay, great.
That opened about 2.5, 3 years after our first location. And we just kept getting inundated with requests, whether it was phone calls, emails, people coming in and saying, when are you going to come to our city? Is this a franchise? You know, we want you in Miami or LA. And so it was unbelievable. A lot of people actually thought we were a concept out of LA or Miami at the time, just because in 2005, Gelato really didn't exist, and it was so ahead of the curve from a design standpoint that they couldn't believe it started in Tucson. So we've been really blessed and fortunate with great free publicity. People have found out that we went to the university, and this was, you know, part of just kind of our own upbringing.
Yeah.
From there, we opened the La Encantada location, which we're at currently. That was a year after the third location, and then from there it took off. We started franchising, and Nazario's helped us expand, all while keeping the quality of the product intact. That's one of the most important things. We source a lot of the ingredients mostly from Europe, and Italy specifically, and we continually expand from there.
So why gelato? I mean, like, what was there a passion that you had as a child? I mean, where did this come from?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It was definitely a passion. We didn't quite know it at the time. Both Stephen and myself had traveled to Italy just, on vacation when we were a little younger, mostly in college. And we both fell in love with gelato, and we'd always talk about it when we came back to Tucson, and we'd always reminisce about our trips to Italy.
Not Tucson.
And so, when Steve and I were graduating from the university here, we decided we wanted to do something. We couldn't come up with any feasible ideas. We had a lot of bird brain ideas, as people thought, and called them at the time. So it was the suggestion of my father. He said, why don't you guys start a gelato shop? We talk about it. We love gelato. And the more we thought about it, it made sense. One, it was a hot climate. Two, it was going to be the first to market, so we would be creating our own niche. And that's kind of how the ball got rolling from that standpoint. We did a lot of research. We said we have to make this ourselves, and we have to duplicate what they're doing in Italy to make it work. So we put a lot of time and research in, and originally we thought we could just order the product from somebody locally in the United States. We tried that, it failed before we even got open, just doing our research. And then finally we fell upon a food show where there were two Italian gentlemen making gelato right there at the food show. And it looked exactly like what we had experienced and tastes like what we had in Italy. And so that's kind of when we said, all right, this is what we want to do. So that's at least how we got into it, and from there the rest is kind of history.
Definitely seems like the perfect climate for it, for sure. So what do you think of Tucson? They definitely kind of brought you here from, you like it?
Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah, I love it here.
All the people ask me, I say, but it's not so hot, so they stay in the kitchen, there is the aircon,
Yeah,
so
like
it's perfect.
air conditioning in there, right? Yeah. So what's your favorite flavor?
There is pistachio is a gelato, or hazelnut, because for Europe and Italy, particularly hazelnut is like peanut butter for you America.
Oh my gosh,
The
yeah.
Nutella is hazelnut and chocolate.
Yes.
And the sorbet like pineapple.
That sounds amazing. How about
You
you?
should, coconut.
Coconut.
But you should explain the history of the pistachio paste that we use. The Sicilian pistachio paste.
Can be a kind of pistachio from Sicily, because the soil is close, where they grow is close to the Etna volcano, and the soil is completely different, so has a particular taste.
Okay. So it's different than, I eat pistachios every day of my life, so it's a different flavor.
Yeah,
A little bit?
it's more intense,
Okay.
but due to the soil.
Okay.
So they think that the soil being from the volcanic, eruption many years ago, that it's very rich in minerals.
Okay.
And so at the base of Mount Etna, it's called the Bronte region, and there's a very small area where they're growing pistachios. And so they can't grow a ton, and a lot from a world standpoint and supply and demand gets eaten up very quickly. And so this is a very expensive pistachio to source, but it's the best pistachio. And so it's the one flavor we actually don't make any money on. We actually lose money on this flavor, which is pretty unique.
They call the green gold.
Green gold. Oh, I love that.
So
Okay.
it's worth its weight in gold,
Yeah,
because it brings people in, even though we're not making money. And
Yeah.
one person may get it, and 5 other people get, something else, but it's an unbelievable flavor, and you won't have anything like it.
So what's your, look at him over there. What's your favorite flavor?
He's working.
He's not even listening. He's not even listening.
Pineapple's my favorite.
Oh, that sounds good. How about you?
I like the beautiful lotus cookie.
Ooh, a lotus cookie. Interesting. Well, I'm going to have to find my favorite flavor then.
You'll have to try, we have a pretty unique flavor. It's called Bajiji Peanut.
Ooh.
And we were in Venice a couple years ago and doing a little research, and we stumbled into a gelato shop that had this flavor, and somebody, my wife had tried it, and she said, you gotta come try this. I was like, I'm fine, I don't want to try it. So she made me try it, and it was amazing.
Okay.
And looking at just the components of it, we thought we could make it better. So when we came back to Tucson, we kind of messed around in the kitchen. We made it a little different, and it turns out that the peanut actually originated outside of Venice, which is pretty fascinating, because in Italy they don't like peanuts, they like, as Nazario said, Nutella. So if you go out there, there's that, and there's a planter peanut statue out there, believe it or not. So
that is so crazy.
the flavor's amazing. It's a combination of sea salt, it has a little chocolate, it has some peanut butter in it as well, and then there's some caramel and some peanuts. We actually won an award for it. We competed in a gelato festival 2 years ago in Miami, and we were voted by the technical jury as best gelato in America with that flavor.
Wow, that's amazing. Here you are in Tucson. I kind of thought too it might be a franchise. I wasn't sure, but it is, but it's here. It's
so we
here,
created it, and then we started franchising about 4 or 5 years after we opened, and we've continually expanded, and our goal was to sell 1 in the first year. We ended up selling 3 in the first 6 months. We kind of capped it at that. Our goal was to make sure that as we expand, we always keep the quality intact. That's obviously the number one thing. If not, our goal is to even make the quality better and better. So we're always trying to figure out different ways to increase the product, not decrease the product. As Steve's dad has taught us so eloquently, people vote with their feet. And so, we always want that line out the door, and we're fortunate 15, 16 years later, even on a Monday or Tuesday night, we'll have lines out the door at any given location. So it's a real good testament to Nazario and just the quality and the care of the product and the brand, and making sure that we're service oriented, not just in the product, but service, cleanliness, and everything.
There's so much passion behind it. No wonder you're successful. I think that's what it takes to really go far with something. So I hear a rumor that there's actually some in Kuwait.
Yeah, so it's a crazy story.
That's a crazy story.
So actually, this location is kind of how we got to Kuwait. We kind of going back, it's a really unique story, and it's a great business learning lesson for anyone listening. As we were expanding, even actually before that, when we first started, Stephen and I had aspirations. We wanted to be in LA. And our family kind of poo-pooed that idea and said, you're going to get lost in the hustle and bustle. So they convinced us that Tucson was the spot. And then we said, all right, we want to be in La Encantada. La Encantada was new at the time. And so we came to La Encantada. The rent was astronomically high. It was what you would find in LA. It was 3 times what you would normally pay in Tucson.
Yeah.
So we talked to them, and we said, we're just going to be selling ice cream. At the end of the day, we're not selling $200 pairs of jeans or $1,000 purse.
Or Tiffany's.
Or $5,000 watches.
Yeah.
Can you do anything to help us out? They said no. So we finally, long and the short of it, my mother, who's in real estate, convinced us to go to Casas Adobe's Plaza. After we kind of turned our nose up at that, she said, this is going to be your best location in Tucson. And sure enough, in hindsight, she's right.
Yep.
So as we were expanding, we wanted to come back to La Encantada. And they said, all right, we'll give you 25% off. And we said we still can't afford that. So we ended up at the east side at Tinca Verde. As soon as we opened that store, they saw our success, and then La Encantada approached us and said, all right, we'll give you half off. So we said, sure. So we ended up coming up here, and part of the conversation at the time was, well, are we going to be able to make enough money, and are we too close to our Oracle location that will cannibalize that store? Because it's only 2.5 miles away. And so, again, my mother being in real estate, she had some really good pointers, and she said, well, one, the east side Foothills people don't necessarily go past Campbell on Skyline. They may go to Casas Adobe's here and there, but they really stay in their area. Plus, you're not going to get out-of-town guests, the university crowd, the students up at Oracle and Ina, they're going to come to La Encantada. Yeah. So you're not going to make as much money, but you're going to pay for it in marketing. You're going to get the value out of it. It's going to put you on the map in Tucson. So it sounded great. Yeah. So we took her advice and we went with it, and sure enough, she was correct.
Mom was right.
Hate to say it all the time,
all
but
the time, I know.
Pretty much the majority of the time, not all the time. But we got people from all over Tucson, university crowds, students. It put us on the map in Tucson. But going back to your original question, it got us to Kuwait.
Yeah.
So one winter afternoon, a gentleman walked by. He was going to the Apple store. He was passing through town. He had to get his phone fixed. And he looked up at the sign and he just shook his head in
Tucson.
disgust.
What?
He said, typical Americans always doing something European.
Yeah.
And I think he said, stupid Americans always doing something European.
Or at least that's what he says he said.
That's what he originally said. So he goes to the Apple store, he comes back, it's cold, and we have a line out the door. And he says, all right, I'm going to go see what's going on. So he waits in line, he gets inside, and he falls in love with the store and the decor. And he says, this is a really sleek operation. So he gets to the front of the line and he sees his favorite flavor, which is pistachio.
Of course.
The Sicilian pistachio.
Yes.
So he tries it and he's like, this is the greatest pistachio I've ever had. He was sold. He called us, and the rest is history. He came to Tucson 6 months later. He visited with us. He invited us to Kuwait. We went to Kuwait. They're an unbelievable family. They treat us like royalty when we're there, which was amazing. Nazario, Stephen, and myself, we all went. And it's very similar to Tucson. It's obviously a bigger population, but they've got every concept in the world that's high-end, medium-end that you can imagine that's there. And he wanted to bring the concept to the Middle East.
And it's Frost Gelato.
It's Frost Gelato in both
crazy.
English and in Arabic on the sign. And then we've got 3 locations with 2 more opening at the end of the year. A little delayed because of COVID.
In Kuwait.
But he actually purchased the rights to 8 countries in all of the Middle East. So whether it's the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Dubai.
This is amazing.
There's a lot of opportunities. So we're pretty excited. We're going to start expanding pretty quickly here, especially in the Middle East. And one of the new locations is actually going to be a dual location. It's in a new mall that's in downtown Kuwait. Attached to it is a National Geographic exhibit, one of the first ones in the world. And so National Geographic actually asked 2 businesses to actually be putting like a kiosk or a smaller concept in there, and one of them Starbucks and the other's Frost.
Oh my God.
So we were pretty excited about that.
Wow. So you could maybe go hand in hand with Starbucks around the world, right? That's amazing. Kind of like what Pizza Hut and yeah. I love this. What a great story. I just love it. So what should we ask him? I think we should torture him.
Yeah.
I think
Give him the tough questions. He's a numbers guy.
He's a numbers guy.
He can count the change.
Yeah. So did you there you go. I don't bite. Maybe a little. So did you have the same passion for gelato as Jeff?
I did. When Jeff and I were throwing back to different business ideas, we went to a school out east where we actually met Nazario and fell in love with the product and how to make it, and just had a great time.
That's amazing.
Decided to go for it.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, this is like it literally is what business dreams are made of, like kind of the American dream. You know?
We've been very fortunate. So, yeah, absolutely.
And you never get sick of gelato.
We don't. We still eat it every day almost when we're around the stores.
We got to taste test it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing. Anything you guys want to add at all?
No, I think Jeff covered everything.
Yeah, I think he did. I don't think he had a problem with that.
Right?
He's like me. I can talk forever.
Yeah.
Especially if you're passionate about it, right?
Right?
Yeah. So I guess that's it. So like I said, there's several different Frost Gelatos. If you don't mind, if you could just say what your website is.
Yeah, it's www.frostgelato.com, and it has all the locations that we have across the country.
And what'll happen when this is edited, it'll pop up above your head, which is kind of cool. So people can definitely find out more about you and visit and learn about gelato. So
cool.
So I guess that's it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Till next time. Bye.